And we're back. Back talking about the Midwest Preparedness Project Expo. Camp out. Weekend. Event, yes. In my other live stream on the same topic, I was talking about a woman we met who was a late-year-old hiker. Little teeny woman, backpacker, in good shape, had walked the John Muir Trail, and her philosophy on walking, hiking, which I found very reasonable, very understandable. And I think anyone could take what she said and apply it to their own life. Hi, Chris Bulldog. Hey, Suze. Shalom. And there's Aid. He's back. What she said was, when she hiked, she would look on the map or, the field guide or whatever she had, and she would decide how far she was going to walk based on what she knew about herself. And so let's say it's 6 miles, and she also knew like how many miles she walked in an hour, so she could guesstimate, if I'm going to walk 6 miles, let's just say that's 2 hours, and it's like 2 in the afternoon. She's already sat down, had her picnic lunch. She's on this trail. In 2 hours, she knows it'll be 4 o'clock. And the way to figure out whether you keep going or not, she said, was you get to your goal, your point, and then you reassess. How much more trail do I have? What would be my next stopping point? What's the weather supposed to do? How do I feel? How are my feet? How are my knees? And then she assesses whether she's going to keep going or not. Oh, cool. Aid said he checked out the Midwest Preppers, watched a short with PJ in it. Nice.
Oh, really? That was fast.
Yeah, he did say that guy said he's one of their people. I think his name was Bob. Said he was going to go around and interview, do quick questioning of who's there and what they're there for. And he was a really nice guy, too. He was also a bit of a MC. He, introduced different people when they were doing their event.
He was a player.
He was a player. And we also met another dude, one of their guys, gave us this patch. The Todd. He is their technical guy. He's the one who did their sound system. And that took quite a bit of doing, because you've got people speaking on one end of the camp and people speaking under a tent.
Yeah, that was cool how they had the classes were all over the camp. You could hear it.
Right.
Speakers.
Yeah, you could hear somebody giving a talk. And the Todd was in the control of all that stuff. Had his little booth area with his speakers and his hookups and his power and everything else. And the camp itself was it had a very sturdy restroom area, concrete, probably could have, in a storm, been a pretty good shelter. And the ladies' room had 3 stalls and 3 sinks, and on the backside, shower stalls. So if you were going to stay there for any amount of time, you could take a shower in there. And it was not crowded, and it was clean, didn't smell funky. Plus, they had porta potties around the main area. So all in all, that they did a great job there. Anyway, back to this lady. It's just smart, especially at our age, not to overthink or overguess your ability, especially on a trail, because your knees and your feet don't always instantly react to stuff, but once you've stopped, you can have, flare-ups, and your knees can start talking to you and stuff. And so you don't want to say, oh yeah, it's only 4 in the afternoon, I'm gonna hike till 8 or 10 or whatever, and a light rain is going to come and the temperature is going to drop to 50. Like, that's a scenario for disaster. And hypothermia setting in when it's summertime and you're not
When you finish
expecting it.
reading that book you're reading, you'll see a lot of stuff like that.
Oh, I know. I also was at where we were. I borrowed a book. Oh, got it right here. It's an excellently written book. This person, the author, Lawrence Gonzalez, is a very intelligent man and a journalist, and this is very well written. It's called Deep Survival. Who survives and why? And who dies, right? Who lives, who dies, and why? And he did a scientific study on those sort of factors. And so make sure that you bite. I want to know my next point and how long it's going to take me to get there and give myself plenty to then set up camp. So I thought that was refreshing. Yep. Instead of the just go, walk until you drop kind of mentality. I think that would not be attractive to me if I were to go hiking. Yeah, Palmetto, that's true. It's not wise to overestimate your ability at any age, and I agree. It was the guy with the beard and his vest on, said Aid. There are about 10 of those guys with a beard and a vest. There's NWA Prepper. Good afternoon, everyone. Have you ever heard of the MidWest Preparedness Project? NWA Prepper?
You could now and go.
That's true. You could go to Lawrence, Kansas right now and be at that event.
It's free.
It's free. And Joel Salatin's going to speak
Tonight and tomorrow.
Tonight and tomorrow. So if you're not on duty, you could go.
There were about 400 people there, I think.
Yeah, they had about 400 people, and they'll probably have more tomorrow. And there were several vendors, and at least 2 food trucks. And, the people putting it on are just fantastic folks. So I enjoyed that part of it, people meeting, and I'm an extrovert, but I also can get bored and I can get irritated and not want to play.
No.
Yes. If I'm tired, if, I'm uncomfortable, I can gut out uncomfortability if I have to, but I don't choose to, right? I'd rather be comfortable. So we brought chairs. And not everybody brought chairs and not everybody carried them around, but I knew that I didn't want to just stand up for 4 hours talking to somebody. I know myself, and so we had the chairs, and then we did cart them around. Like, we had to move from one speaker over to whoever we wanted to talk to and back and so forth. So today, after I talked to Tammy, I was wondering where PJ was. And of course, people were talking to him. There was a knife maker there, knife sharpener.
MT knives.
MT knives. And he's got one of their knives around his neck.
The Genesis.
It's called the Genesis. There were, what other kind of...
Lots of knife guys, suppressors, ammo guy.
Was there any food storage, you guys?
There was
Refuge
somebody
medical.
was
selling medical
jerky.
kits. Somebody was selling jerky.
Refuge medical booth.
Yeah. So there was a variety of the booths, I'm just trying to say. So then near the end of our stay, PJ went over to talk to an ammunition guy. And do you remember the ammo company name?
I don't.
Okay. Were selling ammunition, and he was chatting with the guy. And so I went over, and they quickly started getting into the minutia of whatever. And his wife was also there. So I thought, I'm going to talk to her. I kind of leaned over the table and I said, "Are you into all this stuff?" She said, "Not really." And I said, "All right, we're going to girl talk." And I grabbed my chair and went around the other side. And I said, "So tell me about yourself." Well, come to find out, we had many things in common, parallel. Her husband had been prior service. They had left the military, and he had become a pastor of a church. They decided to homeschool their children. Oh, there's Colonel Bear. Can't wait for the re-release of the Monkeys. Yeah, that's a pretty cool thing too. I'll get off into that after I'm done talking about this lady, Nikki. Just sat down and she's just, I'm like, I'm a grandma too. I could tell because her hair was kind of silver. I'm like, tell me about yourself. So she went into this whole history of she and her husband. His name was Aaron. And after leaving the military, became a pastor of a small church, had a heart for Haiti. And the church that they initially went to right after service was not interested, was not connected to Haiti at all, and then had differences in their beliefs and whatever, left, moved, went to somewhere else. Little town had a church, no pastor. So they walk into that church and they're talking about their mission to Haiti and that they needed a pastor. And so they became a natural fit and they became the pastoral couple of that little church. And they had had 3 children, wanted in her heart to have more, but they thought they weren't going to. So in her story, come to find out that he found, like, the Holy Spirit told him he was going to have more children. She wanted more children, so they had 2 more children. And then when he got the mission to Haiti, which was to an orphanage in Haiti had written to their church and said, "Hey, pray for us," or something, and they actually went down there. A Haitian woman with 3 children, aged 3, 2, and 1. You finished?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And Haiti had been in lots of troubles. They had a tornado or a storm or something, and it just trashed the island. Her youngest child had starved to death. And so she had brought her oldest to this orphanage and dropped her off. And that's it. Like, when they do that, there's no, "Oh, I'll come back later," or anything. She was there. And the husband, Aaron, saw the little girl and knew in his heart there was something about her, but he didn't know how to tell his wife. And when he came back from the mission trip, he couldn't express it. And so he had a video of her and he played it, and she was singing a little song, and Nikki heard it and knew in her heart this girl needed to become their daughter. And so after 5 years, they adopted her. And they also homeschooled because they had one daughter with vision issues who got all the way up to 5th grade before the school even noticed. And she was so not impressed that she pulled their children out and homeschooled. So there was many areas where she and I had similar things happening in our lives, not in the same place, not in the same time frame, but I found I could connect with her. And then on the way out, I saw a woman with a brown dog, big brown dog. And the way it sat and it had a white patch on its chest, I came over and said, "Is that a Rhodesian Ridgeback?" And she said yes. And so we had a 5-minute conversation before we left. So why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all this because you can find someone to connect with. Even if you're an introvert and you're very nervous, if you just start talking to people, and most everybody, especially Americans, we're generally friendly. You can start with, "Hey, I'm Kate, what's your name?" Or, "Why are you at this event? What attracted you?" You want your questions to not be like,
You want open-ended questions.
yeah, open-ended questions, but also not like your interrogator. "Tell me why you are here. what is your reason for being here? You want it to be a friendly, open-ended question so they can answer back. And most people are willing to, have those kind of conversations in an event where they kind of know what it's all about. The context is you're in a generally friendly surrounding, and so people are usually willing to open up and making those connections and just getting those. Oh yeah, I'm interested in that too. Hey, terra firma says I'm working out in the garden tending to veg, seedlings, and flowers. Please pray for my dad. He's been battling cancer for 9 years and he's not doing well today. Well, we certainly will, terra firma. Same, it's not meant to be a crutch. Rocklick Ranch says, but my name's not Kate. Yeah, don't use my name. Use your name. Fill in the blank.
Make one up.
Say, hi, I'm Rocklick Ranch. I'm sure people will respond very well to that.
I'm a pretty big deal.
That's right, I'm a pretty big deal. You need some albuterol, someone said. I have a lifetime supply. No, he doesn't. Right. So anyway, don't be afraid. Go to events, meet people, share information. I liked sharing the chicken thing and to find out that the Patrick, who started the MidWest Preparedness Project, had a lot in common with me, being Filipino, and I'd been in the Philippines, and I even remember my address from when I lived there. I was only in like second or third grade. We're social creatures, and so making those connections is what actually makes us feel better. It doesn't make you feel better to never socialize with other humans, to say, I'm the lone wolf and I don't need them. Because what it does to your mind is you start like having the same ideas and reinforcing your own ideas, and you're going to be out of date instantly with all that. You have to have a connection to other people to be like, oh yeah, okay. Guess what? Biden's not president anymore. The political, news in the world has changed. The weather's different from when you were talking to yourself all by yourself for the last 3 months. There's stuff for sale in stores now that you don't know anything about. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not healthy for humans to be alone. NWA Prepper, meet people. Do we have to? People are so mean. Some people can be mean and some people can be dangerous, but generally, people can also be very nice and friendly and generous and interested in you, and you can be interested in them. The only downside to being outside is there is people. There's a whole lot of vitamin D out here. It's good for you. Besides, some people cross an ocean to meet other people.
True that.
Cross an ocean. Think about that. Think about how much time and effort and planning it takes to say to yourself, I know there's a prepper on that other continent, and I'm going to fly there and try to meet that prepper. How many of you have that dedication? They're so excited for the rib. She's moving in 2 weeks. Consolidation or resources to co-hemp faster. Well, congratulations. That's cool. Eight says, me. His hand is up. Me, I'm willing to say that because, well, he did. He did. He moved across the world to meet up with other preppers and be in a place where he could prep freely and unabashedly with space and resources to do it, right? We get so spoiled here in the States because we have all the stuff available to us.
Well, he's the one that told me no bread will drive 3 hours for a prepper meeting.
Right? Driving 3 hours to a Brit is a lot. For us, nothing. We'll go 3 hours for a bookstore or a restaurant. It's ridiculous. So I go on Instagram and I watch reels, and most of the reels I watch, I like historical. I actually got into a whole loop the AI picked up on. I was liking videos on building, construction tips, knot tying. But I also follow this channel called Josh and Jace. I think it's Josh and Jace. They are British, they're young men, and they came over to America and did different reels on what they were experiencing here in America, like stores and restaurants closed. They even went to a rodeo. One of them rode a rodeo bull. And so
I think I've seen those guys.
Yeah, they're kind of fun, and they're like, they actually were in Boston and dressed up like Brits and went to a reenactment of the Tea Party. It was hilarious. They've been doing Texas and Louisiana lately, and they just posted that they are going to go meet the guys from Duck Dynasty. I mean, come on. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine, like, going to a foreign country and meeting like a movie star or a very popular TV series or something like that? I mean, it's adventurous, and yet how do you even phrase it? Like, you can do these things and they can be a good experience. It doesn't necessarily have to be a horrible experience to be adventurous. Okay, so does going all the way to Washington to meet Raincat for Pesach count? Heck yes. That's a whole experience up there. The trees and the rain and all that other stuff. Her and our hubby are the nicest people. Instant family. Yeah, she's a sweetheart. A wise man told me one time that to drive 3 hours for a meetup should be done with few excuses not to.
Right.
I wonder who that guy could be.
He sounds like a smart guy.
Huh? I'm almost never using inhalers because I have a nebulizer at home, and I also get a ridiculous amount of albuterol in liquid form. Okay. There's B Ski. Hi, SK and PJ. Hope your drive home is going well. Thank you.
It's a beautiful day.
Aha. It is a glorious day. So,
that's all missile fields.
What missile fields?
They had all kinds of Minuteman missiles all throughout there during the Cold War. All the silos are still out there.
Huh. I don't know that I knew that.
All kinds.
Is there anything else that you want to say about the prepper meetup?
I'm going to do video on it.
Oh, you are? So you don't want to... Okay. Well, then I think that will be the end of this second video in the series, unless you guys have questions or comments. NWA said, gotta run. Have a blessed day, and thanks for the live stream. All right. Shalom. Anybody else? I'll tell you what, this weather makes me want to go plant more stuff. More plants. I've got peas. I've got seeds for everything. I just need to get them in the ground. Fanny Burke says, blessings to you and PJ. And love y'all, shalom. Gotta go save lives, people say. All right. Well, thanks for coming to the live stream, y'all. Have a great weekend. Shalom. Boink. Didn't work. Boink. There we go. Okay. 24 minutes left. That's fine.